Well, hello everyone. Welcome. We are starting a new book today. It is called Thought Vibration by William Walker Atkinson. Thought Vibration by William Walker Atkinson. I do not have a book to show you because I'm going to be reading it from online. But I came across this book a couple weeks ago and it just spoke to me. It was just singing and I could not wait to get into it and I wanted to share it with you all. So let's go through this together. I have not read the whole thing. I've listened to it online, but I wanted to read through it because it's different when you read through it and we can talk through it and all that jazz. So again, let's get started on Thought Vibration by William Walker Atkinson. Let's dive in. Let me make sure I have all the settings. Hopefully everything's rocking and rolling. All right, chapter 1, The Law of Attraction in the Thought World. The universe is governed by law, one great law. Its manifestations are multiform, but viewed from the ultimate, there is but one law. We are familiar with some of its manifestations, but are most totally ignorant of certain others. Still, we are learning a little more every day. The veil is being gradually lifted. Yes, it is. You know what? I think he wrote this. I don't know when he wrote this. The other book, let's see when he wrote this. The Law, Thought Vibration by William Walker Atkinson. I think it was from 1906, y'all. Let's look it up. Thought Vibration, William Walker Atkinson. And I apologize for not knowing because there was two other books that I read. And I don't want to get it confused with the publishing. I want to say it was, no. Let's see, published date. Yes, it was 1906. Okay, so we're working with over 100 years ago. All right, so he says the veil, still we are learning more every single day. The veil is being lifted gradually. It definitely is, my friends. This was back in 1906. We speak learnedly of the law of gravitation, but ignore the equally wonderful manifestation, the law of attraction, in the thought world. We are familiar with that wonderful manifestation of law which draws and holds together the atoms of which matter is composed. We recognize the power of the law that attracts bodies to the earth, gravitation, that holds the circling worlds in their place, but we close our eyes to the mighty law that draws to us the things we desire or fear, that makes or mars our lives. Isn't that the truth? So he's saying here, we speak learnedly. We speak a lot about the law of gravitation and all that we know about it and we've learned, but we ignore the equally wonderful manifestation, the law of attraction, especially in the thought world. We are familiar with that wonderful manifestation of law, which draws and holds together the atoms of which matter is composed. We recognize the power of the law that attracts bodies to the earth, that holds the circling worlds in their places. But we close our eyes to the mighty law that draws to us the things we desire or fear, that makes or mars our lives. When we come to see that thought, with a capital T, is a force, a manifestation of energy, having a magnet-like power of attraction, we will begin to understand the why and wherefore of many things that have heretofore seemed darkened to us. Let me read that again. He says, when we come to see that thought is a force, thoughts truly are things, as Napoleon Hill says. So as we come to see that thought is a force, a manifestation of energy, having a magnet-like power of attraction. So every thought creates a vibration in our body. Vibration is energy moving at a certain frequency. And depending on our vibe, how we feel, right? Our emotions, our vibration will dictate what we attract to us because only like attracts like. Like vibes attract like vibes. So our emotions will dictate what we attract. So he says, this thought, which creates feelings and emotions and vibration, has a magnet-like power of attraction. We will begin to understand the why and wherefore of many things that have before now seemed in the dark to us. There is no study that will so well repay the student for his time and trouble as to the study of the workings of the mighty law of the world of thought, the law of attraction. When we think we send out vibrations of a fine ethereal substance, which are as real as the vibrations manifesting light, heat, electricity, and magnetism, that these vibrations are not evident to our five senses is no proof that they do not exist. So he says, when we think about sending out vibrations to this ethereal substance, which are as real as vibrations, they're manifested as light, heat, electricity, magnetism, and we can't see those things with our eyes. We can see what heat does, but we can't see heat in the air until we feel it. You know, light lights up a room, but we don't see unless we like harness it into some sort of laser. A magnet, we can see something being drawn to a magnet, but we don't see the forces that are pulling it towards the magnet. He says these vibrations are not evident to our five senses, and that's no proof that they don't exist. A powerful magnet will send out vibrations and exert a force sufficient to attract to itself a piece of steel weighing 100 pounds. But we can neither see, taste, smell, hear, nor feel the mighty force. It's like love. You can see love in action, but you can't, it's not something tangible, like from our five physical senses. You know, we can't touch love, we can't hold love. It's an emotion, it's a vibe, it's a feeling, it's a thought. It's a thought. So he says these thought vibrations, okay, so we can't see it. It's a mighty force, but we can't see, hear, smell, taste, or touch it. These thought vibrations likewise can be seen, tasted, smelled, heard, cannot be seen, tasted, smelled, heard, nor felt in the ordinary way. Although it is true, there are on record cases of persons peculiarly sensitive to psychic impressions who have perceived powerful thought waves. And very many of us can testify that we have distinctly felt the thought vibrations of others, both whilst in the presence of the sender and at a distance. Telepathy and its kindred phenomena are not idle dreams. That's for sure. I've only had one kind of like psychic experience, if you will. And I've shared it before, but I was in Hawaii. Where was I? Like Honolulu, Oahu, right? That's the island. And my family's in California. And I remember having a dream so vividly of my brother, and he was in some trouble in my dream. And I could just feel his pain. I could feel his pain, and he was talking to me, and it was just such a real dream that when I woke up, it was like it was there. It was like not just a dream. So I was worried. Anyways, I called home, and yeah, he was safe, thank God, but he was in trouble. And I had seen him in my dream, and it was exactly kind of the scene that he was in. It was wild. But yeah, it's one of those telepathic experiences, you know, when you can feel someone else's thoughts, you know. It was really powerful. And that is the beginning and the end of my psychic experiences. But no, I can definitely feel, and we all can. I mean, again, this was written over 100 years ago, so it was a little more taboo back then, but we're all very much more aligned and attuned and more comfortable with this language of, you know, psychic abilities, to be honest, or just, you know, beyond the five sensory perceptive abilities that we have, intuition, the sixth sense, stuff like that. You know, just trusting our gut and being open and talking about it more, it's just like a muscle. We're a little more open with it these days. So yeah, he's saying that telepathy, yeah, it's a kindred phenomenon that aren't just dreams, they're real. Light and heat are manifested by vibrations of a far lower intensity than those of thought. Okay, so he's saying light and heat are manifested by vibrations of a far lower intensity than those of thought, but the difference is solely in the rate of vibration. So thought is more powerful than the vibrations of light and heat, the vibration of thought. The annals of science throw an interesting light upon this question. Professor Alicia Gray, an eminent scientist, says in his little book, The Miracles of Nature, there is much food for speculation in the thought that there exists sound waves that no human ear can hear, the color waves of light that no eye can see, the long, dark, soundless space between 40,000 and 400 billion vibrations per second. Yeah, 1, 2, 3 billion per second. And the infinity of range beyond 700 billion vibrations per second, where light ceases in the universe of motion, makes it possible to indulge this speculation. Wow. M.M. Williams, in his work entitled Short Chapters in Science, says, there is no gradation between the most rapid undulations or tremblings that produce our sensation of sound and the slowest of those which give rise to our sensations of gentlest warmth. There is a huge gap between them, wide enough to include another world of motion, all lying between our world of sound and our world of heat and light. And there is no good reason whatever for supposing that matter is incapable of such intermediate activity, or that such activity may not give rise to intermediate sensations, provided there are organs for taking up sensifying their movements. Well, I didn't understand any of that, did you? Okay, he says, okay, back to William Walker Atkinson. He says, I cite the above authorities merely to give you food for thought, not to attempt to demonstrate to you the fact that thought vibrations exist. So those two bits of information that I didn't really understand that well were to demonstrate the fact that thought vibrations exist. The last named fact has been fully established in the satisfaction of numerous investigators of the subject, and a little reflection will show that it coincides with your own experiences. We often hear repeated the well-known mental science statement, thoughts are things. And we say these words over without consciously realizing just what is the meaning of the statement of thoughts are things. If we fully comprehend the truth of the statement and the natural consequences of the truth behind it, we should understand many things which have appeared dark to us and would be able to use the wonderful power, thought force, just as we use other manifestation of energy. Any other manifestation of energy. So he's saying, once we realize it, when we fully comprehend the truth behind that statement, thoughts are things, we would be able to harness this wonderful power, this thought force, just as we harness and use all the other manifestations of energy like light, sound, heat. As I have said, when we think we set into motion vibrations of a very high degree, but just as real as the vibrations of light, heat, sound, electricity. He says, okay, let me read that again. As I have said, when we think we set into motion vibrations of a very high degree, but just as real as the vibrations of light. Oh, so he's saying we set in motion vibrations of a very high degree, just like we set into motion the vibrations of light, heat, sound, and electricity. And when we understand the laws governing the production and transmission of these vibrations, we will be able to use them in our daily life, just as we do the better known forms of energy. That we cannot see, hear, weigh, or measure these vibrations is no proof that they do not exist. That reminds me of Price Pritchett's book, U Squared, when he says, the absence of evidence is not evidence of its absence. So if there is something that hasn't showed up in your life yet, the absence of evidence that your manifestations are coming to fruition is not evidence of its absence. So the absence of evidence is not evidence of absence. So he says, when we understand the laws governing the production and transmission of these vibrations, we will be able to use them in our daily life, just as we do better known forms of energy. That is that just because we can't see, hear, weigh, or measure these vibrations is not proof that they do not exist. There exists waves of sound which no human ear can hear, although some of these can undoubtedly be registered by the ear of some of the insects, and others are caught by delicate scientific instruments invented by man. Yet there is a great gap between the sounds registered by the most delicate instrument and the limit which man's mind, reasoning by analogy, knows to be the boundary line between sound waves and some other forms of vibration. And there are light waves which the eye of man does not register, some of which may be detected by more delicate instruments, and many more so fine that the instrument has not yet been invented which will detect them, although improvements are being made every year and the unexplored fields gradually lessened. Yes, we definitely have. As new instruments are invented, new vibrations are registered by them. And yet the vibrations were just as real before the invention of the instrument as afterward. That is so important. That was something that dawned on me. Like science, respect science, love scientists, love it all. But when I was younger, and even when I got older, like I thought scientists like invented things. Like, I mean, of course, just, I got, let's just put it this way. I got discovery confused with like creation, I guess. Like I thought, wow, they're so smart. But what they're doing is they're just proving that something already exists. So just think about it. Just because science hasn't caught up to things that exist that are considered ridiculous or woo-woo or and you see it all the time when you like type stuff into like Google. It says there has been no scientific backing of this. Science hasn't proved, but that doesn't mean it doesn't exist. Like, but people, and I don't blame them, but they do not believe it unless it's been proved. But that goes back to the whole idea, which we were talking about on the science of getting rich, of, or actually, I think I just had another post online about, oh, it was from A Course in Miracles, about you will not see something until you believe it. And you cannot see something that you don't believe. If you don't believe it, you will not see it in your life. Like, and if you believe it, if you don't believe it, you won't see it. Like, I'm saying the same thing, but it just reminds me of, it says, when new instruments or new, discoveries are made and they're registered and they're proved and all this stuff, that something was real, it doesn't mean that they weren't real before. It just means that we can prove it now, 100%. Because electricity was always there before it was harnessed. Light was always the possibility of light. Again, everything's already created. Like there's so much that we don't know. And what is it? 99.9999% of this universe is made up of empty space. Or we can only see 0.1% of what's going on in this physical universe. Think about how we live. Think about how we continue to evolve. There's so much that we can't see and we can't perceive yet. So he says, as new instruments are invented, new vibrations are registered by them. And yet the vibrations were just as real before the invention of the instrument was as afterward. Supposing that we had no instruments to register magnetism, one might be justified in denying the existence of that mighty force because it could not be tasted, felt, smelt, heard, seen, weighted, or measured. That's the truth. And most of the time, many times, things have been discovered on accident. Wasn't it Newton when the apple hit his head, he understood gravity? All right. So it says just because we can't see, hear, smell, taste, touch, weigh it, measure it, it doesn't mean it's not real. And yet the mighty magnet, okay, so like magnetism, if there wasn't an instrument created to prove or show the magnetic force and like shavings being, magnetized or something repelled, people wouldn't believe it. And he's saying, of course, well, why would they? They probably think you're a quacker. Like the earth, being round, sailing around the earth, like you're gonna fall off the earth if it was flat type of thing, you know? All right. So he's saying just because we can't see it doesn't mean we it doesn't exist. And yet the mighty magnet would still send out waves of force sufficient to draw to it pieces of steel weighing hundreds of pounds. And that's like, I remember one time someone used the example of right now, wherever you're at in the world, Whitney Houston, I Just Want to Dance with Somebody, that song is playing right now somewhere. And I just have to tune in the radio to pick up the station that's playing it, the frequency that is playing it. And just think about that. Like there are songs surrounding us, there are ideas, there are thoughts, there are prayers surrounding us. And if we are tuned in to the frequency that we can find it on, we will experience it. But just because we're not experiencing it and we're not tuned in doesn't mean it's not there. And that goes into like everything exists all at once right now. There's no such thing as time. And there's different dimensions and realities. And if there's something we want to experience that's not in our current level, we just have to tune in and feel vibrationally in our minds and experience it here first. And then we will find ourselves on that frequency, on that timeline or reality, whatever it is. It's like the multiverse. It's wild. But the more I study this, the more true it is. Because every decision we make will lead to the next. Like, yeah, I made a decision today, and it's definitely it definitely is gonna change timelines. Let's just put it that way. I already know it, and I didn't have to make that decision, and my life would be different if I didn't make it. But we do that all the time. It doesn't have to be a big decision, like your decision not to go to the gym, your decision to eat one thing over another, your decision to go to bed at a certain time. It's like the butterfly effect, you know? So there's no such thing as a neutral decision. There's no such thing as a neutral thought. What are we thinking? What are we doing? What kind of actions are we taking? And our actions are a result of our thoughts and feelings. So it's all connected, it's all connected. Okay, where's my reading? Let's just read a couple more sentences here. All right, so just because we can't see the magnetic force doesn't mean it's not there. Each form of vibration requires its own form of instrument for registration. At present, the human brain seems to be the only instrument capable of registering thought waves, although occultists say that in this century, scientists will invent apparatuses sufficiently delicate to catch and register such impressions. And from present indications, it looks as if the invention named might be expected at any time. Can you imagine if there was some sort of instrument that could, I don't know if it could ever like read thoughts like word for word, but yeah, I guess like they do the muscle testing of like your vibration and knowing, oh, each like a thought or a thing to rate it on the consciousness scale. I don't know if that's what it is, but yeah, don't they have like that Kirlian photography to like photograph people's energy, like the color and aura, like all sorts of things. I'm not sure what it's called. But to read people's energies, their vibrations. Absolutely. Yeah, we definitely have those these days. He would be impressed of what's going on in 2025. So he's saying at the moment, this is back in 1906, and I'm sure it's been made, those apparatuses. All right, the demand exists and undoubtedly will be soon supplied for that machine to read vibrations. But to those who have experimented along the lines of practical telepathy, no further proof is required than the result of their own experiments. We are sending out thoughts of greater or less intensity at all the time. That's the truth. We are sending out thoughts of greater or less intensity at all the times. And we are reaping the results of such thoughts. Not only do our thought waves influence ourselves and others, but they have a drawing power. They attract to us the thoughts of others, things, circumstances, people, luck, in accord with the character of the thought uppermost in our minds. So whatever thoughts we have the most, our predominant moods create our life, as we learned from Elsie Lincoln Benedict's book. What are we thinking over and over and over and over and over and over and over? And usually we're not consciously aware. Remember, only 5% we're consciously aware. The rest, 95% underneath, subconscious, below conscious level, the big iceberg under the water. And that is, again, not consciously through words we can detect, but we feel it immediately. This is the way I've been describing it lately. You know how I show the stick person with the conscious thinking mind and the subconscious feeling or emotional mind and then the body? I want you to just think, and I should probably do a drawing of this. Think of your physical head, although the mind is not the brain, but we think, and we experience in our heads, being in our heads, our mind, but our mind is everywhere. But think 5% is the conscious awareness of your mind, of your conscious thinking mind. Just think of that as your head, 5%. The rest is the body, 95%. This is your subconscious mind. From the neck down, it's the bottom of the iceberg. This is all where everything that has been repeated and programmed here goes into the cells of your body and programs your physical body, which creates the momentum to do or not do whatever it is you're going to do. Carry out your actions, which create your results. So think about 5% as your conscious thinking mind, and then 95% as your subconscious mind, which is your body, So he says, we are sending out thoughts. We are sending out thoughts of greater or lesser intensity all of the time. Not only do our thought waves influence ourselves and others, but they have a drawing power to attract to us thoughts of others, things, circumstances, people, and luck in accordance to the character of the thoughts that we're putting out and the thoughts that we are the most involved with. And again, back to we're not consciously aware of most of the time of what we're thinking, but we are very aware of what we're feeling. And so it's a very simple exercise. Just close your peepers, channel in from the neck down, pay attention to your shoulders, your chest, your heart, your belly, your solar plexus, your hips, your thighs, and just breathe. Your lower back, maybe even your jaw. Just notice. How do you feel? How do you feel? How does your body feel? Do you have tension, tightness? How are you feeling? And if that feeling, if you could put words to that feeling, if that feeling could speak, what would it say? That's one of the easiest ways to uncover what you're thinking about in your subconscious mind. So when I walk my clients through that, I say, okay, just relax, close your eyes, just notice, take a deep breath, settle in. Where do you feel, even if it's slight, any tension, tightness, constriction, pressure, charge in your body? Where is your awareness going to? For me, I always kind of feel something right here, right below my rib cage, my solar plexus. Sometimes I'll feel it in my chest. But usually people say, oh, it's in my head, it's busy in here. And it's here. It's between here and here. Okay, I have them choose. Which one has the most pull, the most charge? And just like identify where it is at in your body, even if it's slight, and focus on that. So I focus on my solar plexus. And I'm like, I just feel, I can't even properly describe the feeling. It's just tense. I feel unsettled. And then I just listen and I say, okay, if this unsettled feeling could speak, what would it say? I'm unsettled. What could you be unsettled about? I don't like the conversation I had earlier with my sister or whatever. And then you can kind of go, just kind of scan. Okay, focus on that stomach area. How do you feel about work right now? How do you feel about your relationship right now? How do you feel about your finances? How do you feel about your health? How do you feel about your day so far, right? And it's immediate, really. It's way faster than that. But we are influencing, he says, our bodies 24/7. And with our uppermost thoughts in our mind will create our vibration in our body. And our vibration is what's going on in our subconscious mind, our 95%. And we're not consciously aware. So again, how do you feel? put words to it. Identify it. Name it and reframe it. You don't have to ignore it or feel guilty for it. Sometimes we're really upset and we're really, just, yeah, we're not about bypassing here. It's be honest with yourself, but don't stay there. Identify it, be normal, take action if you need. But is this true? How is this making me feel? We can be addicted to these things, getting stuck in loops, thinking that the more we think about it, the better we feel about it, when that is like thinking the more I drink, the better I'll feel. That makes us feel worse. It's an addiction. All right. So he says thoughts of love will attract to us the love of others, circumstances and surroundings in accord with the thought. People who are of like thought. Thoughts of anger, hate, envy, malice, or jealousy will draw to us the foul brood of kindred thoughts emanating from the minds of others, circumstances in which we will be called upon to manifest these vile thoughts and will receive them in turn from others, people who will manifest in harmony, and so on. That is so true. Whatever you're focused on is a true experience. Whatever you believe must be true for you. If you believe people are just jerks and rude and inconsiderate, you are right. You're right. And your brain and your body will give you all the evidence to prove that you're right. I don't know why this whole idea. I think because I usually make my coffee at home, but I've been grabbing my drinks when I go to the park and walk, and I go to like Starbucks and I get a drink. But every time I always think of who's that guy? Who's that money guy? What is his name? Has glasses. Anyways, he always dogs on people who are in debt. I mean, he helps people that are in debt, but he talks about wasting your money on coffee, everyday coffee, and I just laugh. And if you want to get on a debt relief plan or something, don't be spending your money on coffees. And he is known for his very direct way of speaking and how his plans work. And he knows how to get people. He's right. He helps people. But and he's right. And anybody that says, no, I don't have to give up my morning coffees, he'll be like, you're an idiot. You're never going to get out of debt. Because in his mind, he's right. But that is not the truth, because there's many wealthy people who still enjoy their daily $5 coffee and they can still get out of debt. But he believes that that's not possible. So it's not possible. And so when you feel guilt or shame when someone's saying it's one way, it's not because they're right that it's the one way. They're right in their mind, but that might not be the truth for you. That might work for you. But if you don't want to give up your coffee, find a way not to. Do what's best for you. But what I'm saying is, this goes back to the whole thing of like when someone finds something that works for them, then they swear that that is the way, and they're right, and everybody else is stupid. But that'll be their experience. Everyone else will be stupid, and they won't believe anybody else. But the same goes for people who are, super woo-woo and think money just is drawn to me effortlessly and easily. Like when they truly believe that, it's true for them. But the problem is that likewise, either way, if whoever's listening to them can't get on board with their thought, they won't be successful, because you have to believe it to be true. And that's why there's a lot of creators, and I love them. They're very aspirational, motivational, and you just kind of look at people, you're like, wow, look at their life. Like they're wild, man. But people who just believe so strongly in something and it's true for them, but it might not work for everybody else, because you got to believe it. You got to believe it, man. Anyways, I hope that made sense. But that always cracks me up with that guy. What is his name? Anyways, yeah, he swears up and down that if you are in debt buying coffee, you will never get out of debt. And that might be true for him and people that he works with, but that's not true in general. Anyways, so let's end there. Well, let's just finish this paragraph. He says, thoughts of anger, hate, envy, jealousy, you're going to just attract in harmony. A strong thought or a thought long continued will make us the center of attraction for the corresponding thought waves of others. Like attracts like in the thought world. As ye sow, so shall ye reap. Birds of a feather flock together in the thought world. Curses, like chickens, come home to roost, and bringing their friends with them. I love that. Oh my God. Oh, we'll finish this tomorrow. Let's finish this tomorrow. Yeah, we'll finish part 2 tomorrow. So I hope you enjoyed that. That was the first reading of Thought Vibration by William Walker Atkinson. This is a short book. Each chapter is just like 3 or 4 pages. So I'll probably be doing a chapter a reading, but we'll break this up into 2 because it's getting late. So as always, if you have any questions, all of the information is below if you want to work with me. If you want to join the Safe to Be Seen experience, it's a 4-month experience, a 16-week experience starting next month. I have all the information that I will put below. And it is if you want to be seen, if you are an author, a speaker, a coach, a consultant, a therapist, and you want to put yourself out there, you have a message to share, but there's something holding you back. You are not on that frequency of visibility. Visibility is a frequency, my friend, and emotional safety unlocks it. When you don't feel safe to be seen, you will not be seen. You will stay hidden, my friend. So if you're interested in that, all the information's below. More to come on that later. I have a free training I just posted here on the YouTubes if you're interested. So have a wonderful evening. Let me know what you think about this new book, and I will see you tomorrow.